if your pricing feels random, it's because it is. But so is everyone else's. And that's exactly why you and the others are all losing money.
Hello, this is the Hack Hour Podcast, a show where it's all about helping real, everyday, hardworking remodelers learn the secrets to having it all in life and business. And now, here's your host, Mike Minges.
Hey there, I'm Mike Menges, founder of the Remodeling Academy. If you've ever felt stuck figuring out what to charge your clients, or if you've been asked why your prices are higher than someone else's, this episode's for you. Look, I'm pulling back the curtain on one of the biggest myths in this remodeling game. The idea that there's a true price. Spoiler alert, there isn't. All prices are made up, every single one. And today's podcast is a longer one, and it's part of a series. So be sure to pay attention, find some time, and come back for the related episodes. All right, so why? Why are we here, right? Have you ever thought, if I could just get an idea of what my competitors are charging, then I'll know the real price that I should be charging for this remodel? Here's the truth. Every estimate is, in fact, made up, right? They're fabricated. They're based on a mix of math, judgment, and what each remodeler thinks the project is worth. And half of what each remodeler thinks is often wrong and not based on actual factual data either. It's based on what they thought. It's disheartening. Look, it's not necessarily all a bad thing, and stay with me. It's actually an opportunity for you to stand out if you know how to explain how you come up with pricing. It's not what you're charging, it's how you come up with it. All right, so why all this matters, right? Both you as the remodeler and your client, the homeowner, you're both struggling with pricing. So you as the remodeler, you're wondering, how much should I charge? And the homeowner, they're asking themselves, well, how much should I pay? And the reality is, nobody really knows, right? And once you understand this at a foundational level and you get that, man, prices really are unique, right? You'll finally discover how to explain that to your clients. And you'll not only feel more confident, but you'll start closing more deals. All right, so what do we mean, right? What do I mean when I say prices are made up? Let's break this down with real world examples, and it hopefully will start making sense for you. All right, let's take kitchen cabinets, right? They can range anywhere, right? Maybe from a couple thousand, like $5,000, up to $50,000, or even more, right? And there are so many factors. We have to look at the size, the material, the finish, the way they're assembled, right? Are we talking real wood like walnut and mahogany? Are they solid walnut mahogany doors? Or are we talking a melamine, right, with a faux wood finish? These details, they matter to us in our price. Not all clients will understand or appreciate all the differences, but it's our job to help educate them. So here's the kicker, right? This quality, you know that. It doesn't always matter to everyone. But for some, right, that sleek appearance is all they're looking for. For others, they want the durability, the craftsmanship, the timeless materials. Those are non-negotiable, right? So the wide range of variables in materials alone, right, can drastically shift the price of the remodel. And us as contractors, we sometimes get to the point where we're trying to defend too much. The reality is this: we just need to make sure that we've communicated to the homeowner that there's a lot of variables. And if price is one of the things that's affecting them, then we just explain to them, like, these are the things that we could do to change price. It can go up, it can go down, right? And once people understand that, then you get to decide if that's the type of remodel that you want to do. All right, let's keep going, right? So you have site-specific conditions that come up, right? It's the environment where this work takes place, and this plays a massive role. In my business specifically, we could be working on a rehab in the city on a property that we might want to be selling, or our clients trying to sell. Let's say it could be, somewhere around $300,000-$400,000 on the low end, right? And at the same time, we could have another crew out in the county working on a multi-million-dollar property where we're spending more on the kitchen remodel than the other property is even worth as a whole. And these factors are important when you're figuring out your pricing. So, for example, right, if you're installing the cabinets in the high-end estate, well, that often is going to require exceptional precision and care, right? The installer may need to take extra time to protect the custom flooring. They might want to set up their work area so that they control the dust more meticulously. And, they're going to have to clean probably every speck of dust that gets generated. All of this is time consuming and it adds to the cost. Now, on the flip side, when I have that crew doing the low budget house flip, right, we might prioritize the speed over the quality, right? There's no time or money allocated at times for all the thoughtful craftsmanship, the actual prep work. Some of that we might let slide, right? So in these cases, the cabinet may more or less kind of get just put up on the wall, right? With little bit less regard for absolute perfection. We're going to find a acceptable tolerance level that it needs to be in. And this is often done so that like an investor can squeeze out profit with minimal rehab costs. And you have to decide what your levels are as the installer and what you're willing to work for or work with and what type of work you're going to put out into the world. So just be aware that job site conditions and expectations do affect the time and attention needed. And that has to be communicated clearly to the client. Now, let's look at like labor and overhead, right? Some people get real touchy about this. And as the remodeler, you need to learn how to utilize this as your advantage when you're selling. And that comes from understanding who you're selling to. So, for instance, a remodeler with a team, if you have highly skilled and trained professionals that work for you, right? Most often these guys are going to have benefits and all of that comes with higher costs than possibly one who's subbing out the work to, let's say, more independent type contractors, right? And even more, the level of craftsmanship sometimes that's required does change everything, right? A high-end professional carpenter with years of experience who has been honed in their skills over the years because they can do such precise work that they've invested in more expensive tools, right? So all of this allows them to deliver a very precise custom finish, but it doesn't allow them to always deliver it fast. And they're not necessarily even going to be able to do shoddy work to meet a rock bottom price because it's simply just against their standards, right? They can't help themselves but put out an amazing product. Now, regardless of how little money, you could offer them the littlest money in the world, they're just not going to take the job, right? Now, on the flip side, let's say you take a carpenter who's new, has very little training, has the bare bones, has very basic, budget discount tools. I don't care how much you pay them, they just aren't going to be able to give you that precision, professional quality at the end of the day, right? So the pendulum shifts both ways. The skills, the tolerances, and the acceptable standards of the remodeler influence the price, right? Not all remodelers are the same. So when you're working with your client, just be sure to help educate and see if their expectation, what they want, and what you know that you deliver, make sure that they match up. So client expectations, this is the real wild card in the industry. Many clients just don't even know First off, just understand that they think they know because they've watched TV. They think they know because their parents rehabbed or remodeled a house 20 years ago. They think they know because their friends have done something. So understand that they don't know, right? And they don't want to seem stupid. They want to come across as smart and educated. So they will often, in fact, not ask the proper questions. You have to be smart enough to ask the questions that you know they want answers to, but they might not be asking, right? So look, some clients expect and will gladly pay for the white glove service, right? They want their project handled with professionalism, precision. They want attention to detail. Many of these clients are ones that have been burned in the past. They actually tried to be smart and they thought they were shopping and being educated and making a good decision, a prudent decision, and they hired the cheaper contractor and it backfired and it was a miserable experience and they don't ever want to go through that again. So they've learned, they've grown, right? So they don't just want a remodel, they actually now want an experience that feels seamless. They know that they're going to be a little bit pampered and they don't have to worry. That's why they're willing to pay more. But not every client has the budget or the desire or has had the bad experience. So they may not really know that this level of service is out there, right? So understand that there are many people out there that are trying to get the champagne quality, right, on a busted beer budget. There's not congruency from what they want and what they're going to be able to get. And when their expectations may not align with what they're willing to spend, this does lead to the challenge in the pricing and the delivery. And these cheaper mentality type homeowners aren't going to be happy at the end of the day. And sometimes you just have to let them go on their own and experience life the way they want it. And you can't help everyone. So you have to be able to determine that, right? So ultimately, the client's expectations are going to dictate often the level of service that's appropriate and which price is, in their mind, realistic, okay? So the takeaway here for you guys is that prices aren't necessarily random. They're crafted to reflect the unique need that's required on each project, right? So you have the remodeler standards, what we do, what we're trained for, what we're capable of, and then you have the client's expectations. And every estimate you provide is a balancing act between the two. You have to match up what the client wants with what the job's going to require and the value that you're delivering. So this isn't about just guessing a number. It is about creating a price that aligns with the reality of the project. And once you understand that, pricing will stop feeling arbitrary and does start to feel intentional. So what you guys will notice too is the more custom work that you get into, the easier it becomes to charge what works for you and also what works for the client. There's a gentleman I follow, and he does high-end custom tables, right? He'll often take a slab of wood from a tree that's recently been fallen, and he'll create some sort of a table. It's either a coffee table, it's somebody's kitchen table, dining room table, it's the table to go in at an office, right, for where all the executives are going to sit around. These tables can be $25,000, they can be $250,000, prices all over the place, right? And you can also just run to Walmart or IKEA and get a table for probably $100. So there's always going to be this disparity in what's available. And the one gentleman charges what he thinks his time and product are worth, and Walmart or IKEA charge what they think theirs is worth, and the consumer gets to help decide based off what they want. So understand that when you revise things, and you need to make sure that you understand the client the best. And sometimes you're not going to be in alignment, and that's going to let you know that you don't do the job. You don't have to try to put out a product that doesn't work for your company. All right. Now, so how are prices actually determined, right? We've talked about it. Price isn't just a random number pulled from thin air. It should be carefully crafted, and there are many variables that go into the price. So there are tools out there, right, that some of you can use. Over the years, what I have found that works best is creating your own internal spreadsheet where you figure out how much time things are taking your crew, your team, your sub, and you put that number in. So if you want to be making X per hour because you know that that's what is going to give you X at the end of the job, it's a very simple way to do it. And I found that that's what works best for us. But let's look at a few other factors. So you have material costs, right? And you have to factor in delivery when you're building price for a customer. And you have to help explain and educate the consumer that there's products like a cellular phone. So whether you're an iPhone user or a Samsung user, that is produced at scale, right? Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of those devices get produced. And the price is fairly consistent across the board because there's a broad distribution network. Remodeling is not like that. There are very few full-scale distribution places that are everywhere in the country. Even places like you might think of like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, they're not necessarily everywhere. Some markets you're still going to be dealing with a regionally owned and locally owned building supply warehouse, right? Think about kitchen cabinets again. Often these are located and they distribute their project regionally. Not so you may not find the same brand kitchen cabinet in every single location across the entire US. So people have to understand that that's how things like remodeling tend to work. Kitchen windows are the same way, right? There's more than one window manufacturer in the country. There's more than one window distributor. And typically these things are more regional. So with that, material doesn't cost the same for everyone everywhere. So if a client is complaining or sharing with you, let's say they live on the East Coast and their in-laws live on the West Coast, and their in-laws just did their kitchen remodel and it cost X, and they're confused why their price for their kitchen remodel cost Y. Well, they're completely different. Right? It's different materials for the most part. It's different site conditions. The houses are built different. Commuting, getting around town, all these variables play into it. It's not something as simple as a phone that just gets shipped and delivered everywhere. Okay, so again, you have to reiterate to them that prices fluctuate based on geography, supplier, and order size. Right? Explain to them that if they want better pricing, then they need to start buying thousands of these things, right? Smaller scale projects often face more variability in costs because they just lack the efficiency of bulk purchasing. So an easy way to sometimes explain this to the consumer is think of a local bakery that makes 10 custom cakes a week, right? They pay more than the big factory that's churning out the cakes that Walmart distributes, right? These prepackaged desserts. Scale and sourcing matters. And also remind them that the quality often, like you go to your local baker sometimes because you want a good quality product. And if the client can't understand the difference and they truly don't want the good quality product, that's okay. And then you get to decide, are you willing to lower your price, right? Because you're going to give them that lower end standard. Are you even capable of doing that? That depends on the guys on your team. So just understand how it's all connected. All right, let's talk about labor and expertise, right? We've talked a little bit about this, but it is a major factor, and this is another thing that changes when you look at things across the board. One company could very easily have a 20-year veteran the installer, right, that has a proven track record. They are always precise. They're always efficient. That person is just going to cost more to send out to the job site than the other company who is just new in business and has a great social media campaign, but their guy, just bought his chop saw and he's still learning how to work it, right? All of his tools, he's still taking the price tags off of them, right? Because he's that new. That person, yes, they both can put a cabinet up on the wall, but the way it's done is going to be much different. So, and explain to a homeowner, like, try to find something that's relatable to them. If you're talking with a woman, you could maybe ask if they go to a specialized hairdresser, right? Maybe in a luxury salon. And maybe they get this full-on experience where while they're waiting to get their hair done, they're offered some champagne or wine, or there's a cheese platter, right? And or do they just run to the mall real quick, a strip mall, and get their hair cut as quick as possible from someone who's just going to take a few cuts and move them on, right? There's a difference. And you have to help understand and help them understand that hiring remodelers produces different experiences just like that. Do they want something that's more tailored, more professional, right? One that they can trust they're going to get a good result? Or are they happy to take the risk and say it's a crapshoot? Who knows what's going to come out at the end of the day? So, all right, we also have to look at overhead and profit. And, we've talked about this some, but again, every remodeler has their own business costs to cover. That could be things like insurance, things like maybe their office expense, salaries, and a fair profit margin. Now, some people get confused and they think, well, those large companies just have all overhead and profit. Well, they also offer low risk, and many consumers will specifically choose a big company because in their mind, it's less perceived risk, right? In their mind, that large company has learned how to handle issues and has come up with systems and has procedures in place. So even if there is a problem, this large company will navigate through it, and the homeowner at the end of the day knows that they're just going to get the product done the way they wanted when it's all said and done. Whereas the newer contractor, the smaller contractor, there's a lot of risk involved in hiring that person. What if that person gets sick? Do they have other people on their team or do they not? What if the person gets into a car accident? Does that mean my kitchen remodel now, instead of being done in 6 weeks, is going to take a year or two because it has to be put on hold? A large company has multiple resources to pull from, and a lot of homeowners value that. So you have to understand your client and look at what your company offers and make sure you're navigating that, right? Because at the end of the day, systems do help remodelers, and some of you guys do need to have more systems in place to help you become less risky as well. So key insight here, right? That many homeowners increasingly today, more than ever, are seeking out remodelers who will reduce the risk, right? They're looking for professionals with experience. They're looking for people that have a process and a system and a track record. And yes, these remodelers will charge more, but they deliver peace of mind, and homeowners are willing to pay for peace of mind. All right, so let's talk about, the job itself, right? The time, the care, the detail. Every project has its own level of urgency and complexity, right? Is this a rush job where speed matters more than the long-term quality? Often homeowners initially will say yes, but ask yourself, are they going to be living in the house for the next 5 years? Are they going to be using this every single day? So then maybe we need to make sure we install it properly, right? Is it a high stakes custom install that's really going to require a lot of meticulous attention to detail? Or is it just something we're buying off of the shelf and we're just putting it up on the wall? End of the story. So all these factors affect the final price. And it's okay regardless of which way the homeowner wants to go. Everyone just has to understand that the decisions you make have consequence, right? Hey, I'm going to pay more, I should get a better quality. I'm going to pay less, most likely going to get less quality. So you have to be asking yourself, is this client really my ideal client? If they're only focused on speed and cost, they may not align with the quality and the care that you and your company brings to the table, right? There's a market for every type of remodeler, but not every client is going to be your client. So your pricing needs to reflect the type of the work that you want to do, that you want to be known for, and the type of the client that you want to attract. So takeaway from this section is, again, prices are a reflection of the materials, the expertise, and the effort that it takes to deliver the value. They're not just numbers, they're a balance of what it costs to produce the work and how much risk you're taking on and the type of the client that you're serving. So when you align your pricing with your values and your company's strengths, you'll not only attract better clients, but you also feel more confident when you are now providing your estimate and stand by your price. All right. So let's look at section 4 here, like the what if homeowners have issues, right? When a homeowner says, I'm just going to get form estimates, I'll find the real price. So you have to be prepared to share with them that there's a truth to that they think what they're seeing, right, is 4 different prices. And this doesn't make them wrong, but they have to understand that they're not always comparing an apple to an apple, right? So what if you could explain all this in an easy manner to your clients? So let's face it, many homeowners, they just don't know how to evaluate a remodeling service or understand why the price varies. They often just think somebody's trying to charge them more, make more profit, right? They don't understand how sometimes the most expensive contractor could be making the least amount of profit because they're putting the most time and attention and the best quality product in for the consumer. And sometimes the cheapest guy, he's the one making the most profit. Anyhow, so as a professional, it is your job to help educate the consumer how the remodeling business works. So what you're going to notice is I have 2 more connected podcasts. You'll want to tune in for episode 19. There, I'm going to go into more detail about overcoming price objections with homeowners. And then episode 20 is nice. This is what we call the secret weapon. It's a resource where you will be able to share that episode directly with potential clients. It's where we help educate the consumer on how to buy and choose who they should work with when it comes to the remodeling service. So let's get back to why would I put out an episode like number 20? It's because most consumers think they're shopping smart, right? They think that they're hunting for the best deal, but too often they unknowingly end up buying junk. They buy cheap materials, they buy rushed labor, and they get a nightmare experience, right? I mean, they essentially like win the booby prize, right? They pay less up front in their mind, only to then spend far more later fixing mistakes or enduring another remodel. And as you get experience, if you can survive the first 5 years in this industry, you will see this play out. Many times in my career, I had gone out and estimated a job for someone. They have shared with me that they liked us and our approach, but they just didn't like our price and they went with someone else, only to then months later contact us and say, hey, yeah, we had a problem. I know we didn't hire you. We did hire that other company, but it didn't work out. So could you come back out and look at it? And we'll go back out and look at it, and it's a nightmare. The situation's even worse oftentimes now. So now our estimate goes up more than what original was, because we also now have to fix and remove many of the things that were done improperly from the other contractor, and the client is just shaking their head and they feel like an idiot because they recognize in that moment that they thought they were smart. They thought that they had figured out the game, only to learn that they just didn't even know what in the world they were doing, and they're embarrassed. And this happens over and over and over again. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do except share some of these stories ahead of time, and certain homeowners will hear you and they don't want to be that person. Other ones are convinced that they're smarter than you, only to have to call you back years later, and you can just smile when they do. So that this other episode that we're putting out, episode 20, right? It educates the homeowner on how to be successful buyers of home remodeling service. It shows them what to look for, right? When they're getting estimates, what questions to ask, and why the cheapest price is rarely the best value. And this helps because you, as the remodeler, you don't have to be the one saying it. You get the benefit of having me say it. And the homeowner might be willing to hear it differently from me because I'm not the one who's also at their house trying to sell the service. And I think for many of you, you'll really like that. And you'll be like, man, I need to show this video, episode 20, to more of my customers. So again, it's a tool for you to use as the renegade remodeler, right? Remember, you're smarter and you're going to share this with a lot of people. It helps you build trust and elevate your professionalism. All right. So let's get back to specifically you and the approach that you can use when the homeowner does have an objection. I'll touch on just a few in this episode here as we're wrapping up. All right. So you want to be the curious consultant when you come out and are discussing a project with someone, right? So your goal is to use curiosity-driven questions so that you can guide the homeowner towards understanding without ever sounding defensive, right? So the first step you do is acknowledge their concern. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, that's a great question. Would it be okay if I shared some insight into how remodeling prices work, right? So if we back up for a section, what you notice here is you've given a price and the homeowner says, how'd you come up with that price? Or why is it that price? Why is it so much, right? Your response. Great question. Would it be okay if I shared some insight into how remodeling prices work? Calm, cool, with a smile. Wait. Most likely they're going to say yes. So, and then you're going to ask a few more questions. And this is done so that you can engage them and get them thinking. You want them thinking so that you don't have to be telling. So you'll ask, when you think about an estimate, what do you imagine it includes? And you pause. Don't give them any help. Let them see what they think of. This will help give you some insight into how smart and knowledgeable they are or they are not about remodeling. All right. Next, you're going to ask, have you noticed how two similar products, let's say cabinets, can have very different prices? Why do you think that happens? Again, pause. Let's see if they understand. See what they know, what they don't know. Another question you'll ask. Would you rather choose the lowest price or the most reliable outcome? Which gives you more peace of mind? Again, you're going to pause and let's see what their response is. See, you're helping the homeowner start making connections in their mind to where they start getting it, and it's going to become real for them. So these questions, right, they truly shift the conversation from price over to value, and you're helping the homeowner think critically about what they're paying for, right? Third step here. Let's reframe the pricing concern. So think, you share this with the homeowner. Think of remodeling like a puzzle. Each piece, material, time, care, expertise, all fits together uniquely, right? Different remodelers are creating their own versions of the puzzle based on your project and what they believe you want. That's why prices vary. It's not just a number, it's going to be the approach tied to the result that you're going to get. And let that settle in and let the homeowner hear you for a minute so they can start understanding what that means. Now, the fourth step is you start to now provide some assurance and you share with them, look, our goal as a company isn't just to give you a number, it's to give you a result that you're going to love and trust and enjoy for many years down the road. So would you like me to walk through how my pricing reflects the experience that we're providing for you and that you're going to have? And most likely the homeowner is going to go, never thought about it that way. Okay, yes. Now, that's one style. Here's a little bit of a shift, and here's another style. So this is being more of like a storyteller and being strategic at the same time. So the goal here is your response to that homeowner who has questions about price is you're going to use some relatable stories or analogies, and this helps create what we call the emotional buy-in and build trust. So the first step is start with a story, right? A homeowner once asked me why the two remodelers she met with gave her quotes $20,000 apart. Like, she's confused. How could it be? And you explain it's like comparing a high performance sports car to a basic sedan. Yes, both are going to get you from point A to point B. But the experience, the ride, the comfort, what it's like day to day are going to be completely different. Also, you want to start to question, right? To help prompt some reflection. And ask the homeowner in a very curiosity-driven manner, how much discomfort and how much uncertainty, right? And how much risk are you all willing to stomach during your remodel? Would you rather have a smooth, reliable experience, or are you more likely to want to just gamble on the unknown and take a chance? And see what they say. See if that makes them uncomfortable. It most likely you should really start to see them pondering this and starting to understand, never thought of it that way. We didn't realize how it's all connected. We just thought you all did the same thing, right? You're helping them break down some of their quote unquote false beliefs about the industry and the process. So another step in this, and you can create what's called a visual model for the client. You can tell them to, hey, Mr. and Miss Smith, please think of remodeling like baking a cake, right? Some remodelers use the top tier ingredients and they bake from scratch, while others are just taking something out of a box and mixing it with some water. Both, don't get me wrong, both are going to make a cake, but the quality, the taste, and the healthiness are going to be worlds apart. And they can start to understand, okay, maybe I don't want the cheapest. Maybe I do want something that's better, right? And then when they know what they're buying, they are going to be more willing to pay more money. Now, stay with me. In this framework we're working on, you still have some follow-up questions. You want to, ask the client, right, how healthy of an experience and, what type of a finished product would you really like when this job's all said and done? Let them share with you what they truly want. And next you can start to use what we call a little bit of the emotional type close. Share with them how, look, I want to deliver a recipe you'll both be proud to serve, right? My pricing, our company's pricing reflects the care and the expertise needed to make your vision a reality. How important is that to you? Again, see what they say. These thought-provoking questions are totally going to transform the experience that you have with this client. I cannot emphasize enough that the average remodeler is not doing anything quite like this. So this is really what separate you. Now, the next step here is you want to share. It's called anchoring, like the value, right? So explain to them, you're not just buying materials and labor. You're investing in peace of mind. Let me ask you, what good is the cheap price if the product never even gets finished, right? What if you hire the cheapest guy and the product just doesn't even perform, right? What if it ends up costing you double to fix it later? So would it be better to get it done right the first time? And see again what they say. The The reason that these approaches work, even though they're going to take you possibly outside of your comfort zone if you've never tried this approach, see, you have to understand that there's 4 things we're doing here. We're shifting the focus, right? We move the conversation away from cost and we really start getting into value, quality, and peace of mind, because that's what the consumer wants, right? We're also building trust. So these approaches position you as a professional. It's someone who listens, you understand, you care, you're guiding the prospect, right? You're not just trying to sell a service. You're asking them open-ended questions. And the third thing you're doing is you are creating the emotional buy-in that everyone goes through when they're purchasing, right? Your questions and your stories they tap into the homeowner's feelings, and it helps them connect the dots between price and outcome that they haven't done previously, right? Something that they buy a lot of, they recognize this. You'll see homeowners all the day shopping at healthier grocery stores and spending way more money on food because they understand now that they're getting more value from that. You have to recognize that the average homeowner hasn't shopped enough in the remodeling world, so they don't understand at the moment what all you're bringing to the table. So you help them. The fourth thing we're doing here, we're reducing risk, right? And you have to help educate the homeowner, and by showing them the risks of the cheap deal, the cheap contractor, right? Let them know that the likelihood of getting what they want is very slim, right? You're reiterating and sharing with them how almost all court cases between homeowners and remodelers can be traced back to the homeowner hiring the cheapest contractor. So by doing this, again, you're helping align yourself as the safe, trusted choice. All right, closing thoughts here. So helping the homeowner understand why prices vary, it's not about defending your number, right? It's about educating them to how numbers come about. And when you position yourself as the professional who helps the homeowner see the big picture, you'll earn their trust and their business, right? When you use these approaches, you're not only going to close more kitchen remodels, more deck jobs, you are going to actually attract more of the right clients because they're going to refer their friends because they had this great experience with you guys. And they're going to value your expertise because their friends are similar to them, and their friends are going to be willing to pay for a better product as well. And this is how you get the snowball, as they say, rolling down the hill. So in conclusion, right, here's the bottom line. Prices are a reflection of value, not necessarily a fixed number, and every remodeler crafts their price based on their process, their care, and what they believe the homeowner's project is worth. So if you focus on cost alone, then you miss out on the value that makes a remodel successful. All right. So for those of you out there that want to master explaining your value and pricing confidently, then join us at the Remodeling Academy, and you can get into some of our programs where we offer more advanced sales strategies and really start to hammer down this so that you're doing it at where it's a piece of cake. You don't even have to think twice about it. Now, for the homeowners, I recommend you look into getting the Consumer's Guide to Home Remodeling. That's a resource that you can share. And again, helps educate your customers why they should hire you as the professional renegade remodeler. So, guys, thank you. I know this was a little bit of a longer episode. This is one you may want to listen to a couple times. Specifically, find a few of the sections that you found new where you really were like, whoa, I haven't tried that before. I need to do that. You may have to listen to it a few times, possibly print out and get a transcript of it. But at the end of the day, repetition is going to be your friend. And remember, when you're implementing new techniques and new things, you may struggle the first few times. It may not work. And it's not the principle that's at fault. It's just that the process hasn't been perfected yet. So keep the principle in mind, follow the guidance that we're sharing, and just recognize that sometimes you're going to have to reiterate and keep going, right? You have to do this 5, 10 times, 20 times until you really get it to where it comes out naturally. And that's when it becomes the most effective tool. and makes all the difference for you. So we wish you the best, and we look forward to, and don't forget to join us on the next couple episodes so you can see how all of this gets tied together. Wishing you the best in the remodeling world. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Hack Hour podcast. It would be awesome if you would leave us a quick review on iTunes. To further your remodeling success, go to remodelingriches.com.